I'm Nomi Epstein. Welcome to my impact video. I am a composer, a Boston-based composer, and a practitioner of experimental music. I wanted to give a big thank you to Composers Now for inviting me to contribute this video of my work, and also just for hosting this wonderful project, ongoing project for different composers of very different kinds of music, to share their work and to share their ideas. It's a really wonderful thing. So I wanted to share with you a few things about how I think about music, kind of how I got here, and also a few pieces of mine and a few different projects that I have. So I started writing music pretty late, I would say. I started writing music in college. I feel like most of my colleagues started when they were, under 10, if not in middle school. And I had been studying music and kind of grew up in a musical family, so it wasn't foreign at all for me to start writing. But I pretty soon became very enamored with experimental music, and notably the New York School of Composers, which would include people like John Cage, Christian Wolff, Earl Brown, and Morton Feldman. And the music that I was introduced to, or the composers that I was introduced to, kind of stemmed from that tradition, or those kinds of traditions. I went to a number of summer music festivals, as we do as composers growing up. And through that, I was exposed to, and also through my graduate school, a kind of experimental music that really felt like home to me. And it became the area that I have explored and kind of been in for quite some time. And that would be within a particular performance practice, having to do with a kind of focused listening. This lends itself to another practice which I take part in, which is called deep listening. And that is a practice founded by the late experimental music pioneer, composer, Pauline Oliveros. And so that has really centered me as a composer, and now allows me to kind of teach or facilitate groups of people to start listening in ways, or to learn how to listen and to practice listening in these very focused ways, which in my mind gets at how I want people to listen to my music, or how I listen to my music, and how I enjoy listening in this world that we live, to the everyday sounds. My practice is based in sonic phenomenology, where subtlety, very subtle things, and focused listening remain fundamental. My music explores very intimate sound worlds where material is exposed in its raw, bare form. Often listeners have an invitation to observe the strength and also the fragility of a sound object that I've spent a while kind of carefully assembling and observing how it takes shape and how it reveals itself through time or temporally. So I do work a lot with indeterminacy, and in that it would be different types of indeterminacy, some things where the performers in rehearsal make various decisions about the elements of the piece, maybe the overall duration of the piece, or when sound contributions might happen, or which instruments will be part of the ensemble. And I enjoy performing works that are also indeterminate. And for me, allowing for this kind of performance practice, kind of rehearsal, cognitive and relational experience is profound and very meaningful, where you are together with a group, kind of practicing a radical silence or radical listening, where each contribution takes on great meaning, but also no contribution should overshadow another. So I'm driven in my work to reconceptualize the roles of performer and listener, to investigate the purpose and the potential of indeterminacy, and to explore the listener's perception of time passing. So I think one of the things that is at the core of a lot of my music, I would say probably especially in the last, I don't know, 15 years, is trying to get at this moment that I imagine, that I've experienced before, where everything is still and quiet, almost a moment frozen in time, where all of your senses are enhanced, where it's almost like you have goosebumps on your arms, and your hearing kind of increases, your hearing capacity increases, and you are kind of more able to focus and to notice, to observe. So it is a kind of a moment where your perception has been enhanced. It is a moment where you're able to observe on a deeper and a more detailed way, and where there's stillness. And that stillness for me has a lot to do with silence, so sonic stillness, but also in terms of motion or surface activity or the things around us, that kind of stillness. And for me, this stillness is representative of bare, kind of something bare in its most natural form, without need to be clothed by anything. And musically, that might mean gesture, in my eyes, gesture, or kind of something added to whatever it is in its purest form. And that this moment is is an experience of, again, stillness, but beauty, and a recognition of beauty, sensorial beauty. So I think a lot of my music in some way brings me to that place, and a lot of different pieces that I've written get at that. It's probably a moment that I chase, that I try and feel and find in my life. And I think the moments where I do experience that quite often would be when I'm kind of on a hike alone in the woods, and I'm able to, be still and notice, observe, listen, sense everything around me very carefully and very, very focused, and appreciate and enjoy and derive great meaning from each of the little details of the things that are going on around me. The kind of magical part of something so bare, so normal, so regular, nature, that's there all the time, and that maybe we don't notice regularly. In 2010, I was interested in putting together a concert of music that I was interested in performing that used this particular kind of performance practice that was indeterminate, that required a group of people to get together to read these text or verbal scores, not using traditional musical notation, to make sense of them, to discuss the possibilities, and then to perform these pieces. And so, with a colleague of mine, put together a concert which we called Aperiodic, and it was very successful in that it was very enjoyable to participate in. We had a wonderful, listening, attentive, and supportive audience. And the other players were also very much so enjoying the experience. So I continued this, and hence the ensemble or collective Aperiodic Ensemble was founded. So I founded that in 2010, and it continues to today. It is a Chicago-based experimental music ensemble which specializes in the indeterminate music of text scores in experimental music that require and often create these very spacious, near silent sometimes, sound environments. And there are different explorations in each piece that are made depending on the particular piece and the composer. I have found it to be an incredibly rewarding and challenging role to be the artistic director of Aperiodic in the curation. And it's something that I think I have shaped. Of course, I have shaped the ensemble, but it has also shaped me being an active curator. And it has opened me up to a lot of different works through my research, always looking for new composers whose aesthetic maybe lies somewhere near what the core of the ensemble is, or what the kind of objective kind of aesthetic that the ensemble is based in. So it's been wonderful to collaborate with so many different composers over the last 15 years. I like to bring in composers and now have them do a portrait concert, a residency with us, spend a week with us, write a new piece, but also focusing on their past works, and then perform a concert of their works. It enables the audience to really get to know a particular composer, as opposed to most new music concerts where it's a mix of pieces by different composers. Through this, I've gotten to work with some of the most kind, generous, imaginative, sensitive, fascinating, and playful people, composers and sound artists that I know. And those relationships have continued into other collaborations. So I thought I'd play a little bit of Aperiodic, the ensemble, in which I also perform. One of the other projects that I've been involved with in the last maybe 10 plus years has been experimental improvisation. And for this, I have enjoyed the opportunity of working with others in small ensembles. So after attending the Atlantic Center for the Arts, an artist residency with a group of sound artists, composers, and performers interested in experimental music, kind of under the care of David Berman, I came back to Chicago and just felt a need to continue improvising. And so I asked two of my colleagues in Chicago, Nora Barton, the cellist, and Billy Howard, the violinist and also a wonderful pianist herself, to play, just to get together and improvise. And we ended up doing that pretty regularly for quite some time, forming an ensemble, an experimental improvisation trio called NBN. And we played lots of concerts and we recorded. And this kind of filled a space in my musical needs that I then continued. Later forming, kind of more recently, forming a duo with the cellist Laura Satilia, who's a Providence-based composer and cellist and improviser. And so this project is called No Place, and I'll play a short recording of No Place.